This is going to be a long one, guys. You might want to grab a drink. Hey, what's going on, everyone? So this is going to be the first in a line of sort of podcasty things that I'm going to try out on the channel, where I can just talk about whatever's on my mind in current and retro gaming. And I'm going to use this as a way to talk to you as the viewer, and so that I can have a little community and we can talk about things apart from the discussion videos where I have to stay formal and talk about one subject. So I might eventually start doing this on live streams. But I'll only do that when I'm alone in the house, because there's other people that live here, obviously. So, yeah, I want to try this out, and I'm obviously going to continue doing it, even if it's not the most popular thing I do, because I think it's a lovely way to just talk to you guys and those of you that are interested. And even if it gains a small audience, I still think that it's something I want to do, because I love talking about gaming, and I just love talking in general. And I love bitching. I really love bitching. It really helps me get anger out. It really does. Saying God fucking damn it about a couple things really does help. So, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Oh, wait, what's going on? So right now I'm going to, demo this mic, basically, because it's brand new. I just got it today, and I want to use it. I have the full intention to use it. So I'm going to use that as an excuse to do this discussion video here. And this is going to be going over my last video where I had announced that the Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon had been leaked, and that's still the case, obviously. But I want to discuss further regarding other people's opinions on the matter, some other counterpoints that I've heard that this isn't going to be a 7th gen game, and I'm going to source another YouTuber. I can't quite remember his name, but if I find him again, I will definitely put him in the description, because he has a great video, and he describes that the next Pokemon games could very well not be the 7th generation as we thought they once would be, and that could very well be the case. And he mentioned that with Pokemon Black and White, there were sequels to those two games, which were subsequently Black 2 and White 2, and that was definitely the case. And he went on to say that those were brilliant because you got to further go through the region and experience new things, and that was a great way to not only fill time until the next iteration comes out and they can create the next 100 of your pocket monsters there, but it's just a great way to revisit the region and revisit the area and everything, and make a new game. And I thought it was brilliant. I really liked Black 2. I still prefer the originals over Black 2 and White 2, but like the originals meaning Black 1 and White 1, but it was still sort of it was filler, admittedly, but it was good. It was done well, and they did actually add to the Pokédex slightly and all of that with the Kyurem stuff. So that was neat. And he went on to say that that's what the next Pokemon games are going to be like, and I'm not necessarily denying that. I think that is definitely a possibility. And with that being the case, if they are going to do that, let's hope that if this is going to be a remake, it's not going to be a Red and Blue remake. And the reason I so heavily emphasize that it might be a Red and Blue remake is because it's the 20th anniversary of Pokemon. I mean, it blows my mind to this day, and I grew up with it, and it's just sort of weird because it's sort of weird watching it evolve, but that's a discussion for another day. And with it being the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, I think that they're going to do this whole nostalgia thing, and I know they're doing the nostalgia thing already by re-releasing the original 3 games on eShop for 3DS so that you can play the original Game Boy games, but I'm thinking that they might rehash Red and Blue and Green subsequently, and like I said then, that's sort of a problem if they do, because we've seen enough of the Kanto and Johto regions, and we've seen enough of the Unova regions because of the sequels there. And the thing is that if they do release that, I'm afraid they're gonna, as a Red and Blue remake, they're gonna piss a lot of people, including me, off, because we've already seen those 3 times. We've already seen the originals, then we've got Leaf Green and Fire Red, and then you've got Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And granted, Heart Gold and Soul Silver weren't Gen 1 remakes, they were technically Gen 2 remakes, but they were sort of pseudo Gen 1 remakes because they fitted Kanto in there. So, I think that they might be doing that, but I'm hoping they aren't. I've got my hopes up that they aren't because I don't think they're that. I don't think they're that desperate at this moment. I don't think they're so far out of ideas yet that they have to resort to doing that. But Sun and Moon, when I first heard the names Sun and Moon, I associated them with Lunatone and Solrock, which you know those Pokemon, the Moon Pokemon and the Sun Pokemon. I believe that's their names, or their species rather. And I'm like, are those going to be the legendaries? Is it going to be some like beefed up OP versions of Lunatone and Solrock? And I don't know, that'd be sort of cool, I guess, that they're bringing non-legendary Pokemon into the legendary realm. Or I doubt that's going to be the case, but they might have some significance in those games, but I don't know. And we won't know until tomorrow. Even if they do announce the games anyways, they might not tell us anything. They might just say, oh yeah, these are coming out, but we're not really going to tell you anything about them. And that's what I feel like is going to happen. They're going to pull a Rockstar on us and keep pretty goddamn quiet, like you know how Rockstar does. Whenever they announce a game, they give you the details and then they shut up for a couple of months until they ultimately give you more details, and then months later they release a game. That's what I think is going to happen with Sun and Moon, but I could be wrong. Obviously I am human and I can be wrong. So I do think that these are going to be 7th gen games, but I could very well be wrong. And if they aren't, if they are going to be remakes of, say, the Kalos games, Gen 6, then I hope they do it well. I hope they did what they did with the Black 2 and White 2, where they revisit the region, but they give you more to do. They give you more areas to explore. They give you more secrets to uncover. They give you new legendaries. They give you this. They give you that. And I hope they do it well. As well, if not better than how they did with Black 2 and White 2, because those were great. And I particularly like the Kalos region. I would like to go explore it, and I'm a massive fan of Black and White, by the way, in case you don't know that. I am a super ultra mega fan. Black and White are to me what Shenmue is to Adam Koralik, so it's that sort of thing going on. And I loved re-exploring Unova, and I would love to re-explore Kalos as well in the same way. And that's sort of a personal thing going on there, because it's known that Kalos is somewhat close to Unova in terms of relationship. How the two regions communicated, like at the back. What the hell is wrong with my voice? At the back. Anyways, at the back of the palace, I forget what it's called. There's a palace in Kalos, and you go behind there, and there's statues of Zekrom and Reshiram. And I thought that blew my fucking mind, because I'm like, okay, that's there. But anyways, I'm going off on one of my little digressions there. But yeah, if they are going to make it, and I've said it a billion times and I'll say it again, if they are going to remake the Kalos games 6th gen, do it well. Do like what you did with the 5th gen games, and in that time that those are out, do fill that time with development stuff for the legitimate 7th gen. And this will bring me on to my next point. With the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, those really feel like filler. I didn't particularly enjoy those two. They were great, don't get me wrong, but they just didn't feel like something I would really want to go back to, and they aren't games that I really particularly enjoy. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, that is. I don't really particularly go back to them. I play them once every blue moon, but I'm usually caught playing Black 1 on my DSi. So I don't really play Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire because they felt like filler, and they were remakes, and that's a big point of this. I don't want any remakes to feel like filler, and if they are filler, which a lot of them are, don't make them feel like filler. Make them feel like actual games that have something new to them, that have some different substance to them. And Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire really didn't do that for me. They didn't really do much for me at all. I mean, they were great games, don't get me wrong, but they didn't change enough for me to want to always come back to them and play them, because it's a lot like just what I played back in the day when I played Ruby and Sapphire. I could just go play Ruby and Sapphire, but yeah, I do hope that if they are going to remake, and I know I'm sticking to this topic really heavily, but if they do, I just want to emphasize it. If you're going to remake a game, guys, make sure that it's good and that you add something to it. Don't be like these remasters that we have in the gaming industry. And I'm going to use The Last of Us Remastered. Great fucking game, but was the remaster really necessary? I mean, you could have just booted up your PS3 and played it there. And remasters and remakes subsequently are pretty much cash-ins. That's generally what they are. They're cash-ins, so that the companies can sort of take the name and make money with it. A lot like how Apple makes money with pretty much solely their name. That's sort of the same concept that's being applied to remasters. If a game gets really good reviews, they can sell that as a remaster and make more money for next-gen consoles or current-gen consoles or whatever you got. So I hope that Nintendo is going to do that, because we've had enough remakes. We need a refresh. We need to move on, and we need a 7th gen. And I really hope that 7th gen is great. I hope that they aren't sort of trying to... I hope they don't give us something that's pretty much seems like it's unfinished, you know. I hope that Pokemon isn't dying, you know, because it's been something... It's been my entire life for years. Like, I remember playing Pokemon when I was like fucking 2, basically. So, you know, I don't want it to go away, and if it does go away, I want it to go out with a fucking bang. But that's a completely different topic. So I'm gonna go on to my next point. So let's talk about the Nintendo Direct presentation, or in this case, Pokemon Direct presentation. I'm going to be watching this tomorrow morning. My schedule will somewhat allow it. I'll probably be watching it in class. I'm a senior, and my schedule is very, 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 very lenient on me, so I can basically just sort of sit there and do what I want for a while, because I finished everything. So I'm going to be sitting there watching the presentation, but what I want to see out of the presentation is, of course, I want to see the Sun and Moon announcement. If I don't see the Sun and Moon announcement, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. Although, to be honest with you, I don't see why, because they have every right not to announce it. But still, I'm going to be somewhat disappointed if they don't announce Sun and Moon tomorrow, or whatever the hell they're going to announce tomorrow. And I have a feeling they're going to probably release some Pokken details, Pokken tournament, that is, and just various other things. They might release they might talk about new cards and stuff, like for 20th anniversary limited edition stuff like that. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of merchandise coming out, and seeing as how I'm searching for a job, I'm pretty sure my first paycheck, which is going to be very soon, is pretty much all going to go to Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, because yeah, because there's going to be a lot of merchandise after tomorrow, I guarantee it. And one of which is probably going to be pre-orders for the next Pokemon game. So you bet your ass I'm going to have an empty wallet during that. So, but yeah, in general, what do I want to see out of the presentation? Well, let's sort of recap. The Sun and Moon announcement, various merchandising stuff. I want to see a really cool, like, retrospective sort of thing that'll probably make me burst into tears, because Pokemon has always been a massive part of my life, and I appreciate it very much. And really, I mean, what more could you expect other than that? They're obviously going to capitalize on the fact that it is the 20th anniversary, and they're going to sell, because that is a big part of what Nintendo is supposed to do. They're a company. So, and Nintendo and Pokemon being as popular as they are, they're really definitely going to capitalize on the 20th anniversary, as they already have with things like the Super Bowl commercial and everything. So expect a lot of merchandising to come out of tomorrow's Pokemon Direct, and expect the announcement of Sun and Moon to come out, even though it won't really be an announcement, because everything leaks before everything gets announced, especially in the mobile phone industry. So, and the gaming industry, obviously. This definitely not counting out the gaming industry. So, yeah, I'm definitely counting on the announcement for the games tomorrow. That's about it. I mean, other than the merchandising in the games, I don't really have anything else. The retrospective, of course, they're probably going to have a bunch of... I suspect that there's going to be sort of a meetup of all of the people at Game Freak and all of the people that make the Pokemon games, and they're going to come together, and they're going to, you know, say their stuff, and then they're going to, you know, get like a party or something like that. I have a feeling that it's going to be something like that. And I'm really going to enjoy tomorrow's presentation. I'm expecting it to go for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, as these things usually do, I believe. I haven't really watched enough Nintendo Directs to know exactly how long they usually go, but expect this one to be about an hour and a half. So I'm definitely going to be glued to the screen the entire time, and my wallet's going to be glued to my hand. So yeah, that's what I think will happen and, come out of the presentation. So staying on topic with the whole Pokemon thing going on, Pokken Tournament, that is a game I am awaiting like a motherfucker. I want that thing, and I want it now, and it's coming out just a few days after my birthday. It's coming out on March 18th. My birthday is on the 13th, and so that is a game I really, really want. That's the reason I got a Wii U, is so that I had it before the game came out. And that's why I really wanted the thing, because Pokken is something I've pretty much always wanted to have. I've always wanted like a nice one-on-one fighting game that's just Pokemon and stuff like that. And while I love the RPGs, it's nice to have just a fighting game. And it's being made by Namco, of all people, so you're in good hands when Namco's taking care of your shit, because they've been in this for years. So yeah, Pokken Tournament. I've been seeing a shit ton of news on that lately, and let's get into some of that. So we're gonna fucking have legendary assists in there, and that's gonna be really fucking badass, because you could just have a legendary pop in and say, hello, motherfucker, and, kick some ass for you. So I feel like it's going to be a lot like what Final Smash is in Smash Bros. So you if you want to fucking bring in Reshiram to fuck shit up, you can do that. And I can't wait to fucking do that, because Reshiram is my favorite Pokemon. So I'm going to love seeing people get their shit fucked up by, well, pretty much a shit ton of legendaries. I'm trying to remember the list of other legendaries. There's the legendaries and some pseudo-legendaries. And by pseudo-legendaries, I mean not the main legendaries of the game mascots. So this is going to be really nice, kicking some ass in there. The legendaries just look really cool, although I haven't seen too much footage of them. Actually, I don't think I've seen any footage of them. I've just heard of them. I've watched a couple of videos here and there, but I don't want to spoil it, so I haven't really wanted to watch any gameplay. I've seen menus and stuff like that, but I don't want to spoil it for myself. I want to get the full experience. But yeah, those legendary assists look badass. Now, there's been a lot of discussions about how the Pokken Tournament might come to 3DS, and I'm going to immediately debunk that. I really don't think it's going to come to 3DS. The 3DS does not have the power to handle such a game. And while the 3DS is a decently powerful handheld, I really don't think that it would be completely pointless to land Pokken down on it, especially with the NX coming out. And there's rumors saying that the NX is going to have a handheld unit as well as the main console. So I'm thinking that if there's going to be any new iterations of anything that are going to the 3DS, it's not going to go, or going to handhelds, it's not going to be going to the 3DS, but it's going to be going to the NX handheld unit. And that brings me into my next point regarding the NX in general. And that's that I think they're going to phase out the 3DS very soon and move on to the NX, so that it's a nice unified handheld and console platform. And that's what I think NX is going to be. They're sort of going to unify the handheld and the main console, a lot like how they did with the Wii U and gamepad, but it's going to be sort of like what Windows 10 is to Xbox, or like what Xbox is to Windows 10, sort of that relationship where they're trying to combine everything together and make it one unified system. And I think that's a good idea, but I don't necessarily know how far it's going to get them. I'm not particularly business-minded, but I think it's a pretty good idea, but I don't necessarily know how far it's going to get them. But we'll see what happens in that regard. I think it's pretty interesting. So, yeah. And as long as we're doing that, let's get into the next part of this video and talk about NX a little bit. And I've never really sat down and actually offered my formal opinion on NX, what I think it's going to be. I do think it's going to be that sort of console handheld hybrid sort of thing. And I appreciate that. I think it's something different that hasn't been done before, but to be fucking honest, all I want is a controller. I just want a fucking controller, a normal controller. The gamepad for me is fine. That's a controller. I love that fucking thing, to be perfectly honest with you. Something like that. I hope that the handheld unit is somewhat like the gamepad, because I very much like the gamepad. But I hope that there's an option that they just support a normal Pro controller or something like that right off the bat, because that's ultimately what I want to be playing with. a nice one with, nice pulley triggers and everything like that. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's pretty much what everyone wants. And, well, let me ramble on about this for a little while. One of the newest bits of news to come in about the NX is that Nintendo isn't allowing third-party developers right now to see the hardware. And a couple weeks ago, it was reported that it was possible that Nintendo was sending out dev kits to these third-party developers. But according to, Thomas Maller of Moon Studios, who is this developer that made Ori and the Blind Forest, which is an absolutely gorgeous platformer. You should go play that, by the way. He said that they're not getting anything from NX, but to be honest with you, did they really vouch for NX? Did they have anything going on for NX? I don't see why Moon Studios would have anything going on for NX, but he does go on to say that the Cloak and Dagger, and I'm quoting from the article here, the Cloak and Dagger secrecy surrounding the Nintendo NX, he said that this is the single most annoying thing for every dev out there. And I can see why, because if you don't know how the fucking hardware works, how are you going to make a game for it? And Nintendo, if this is the case, if they are not showing anyone the hardware, then I want to show their ass my foot, because that's fucking ridiculous. They need to get their hardware out there. They need to show these developers what they're working with, or else they're going to run into a fucking Sega Saturn situation in which they just slap hardware in there right when they're about to release it, don't tell anyone how to use it, and then it's out there and no one knows how to use it except for the first party, being Nintendo in this case, and while great games are released for it, it's still not releasing the full potential, and it never will, and it will cause problems, and it will fall into obscurity and die, and please, Nintendo, don't let that happen. That cannot happen to the NX, and this is a very fair warning, Nintendo. You cannot let the NX fail, because if you let the NX fail, you are going to fail yourselves, because you're going to run out of money, and while you are currently on the upswing, I will give you that, if you fuck up again, I don't think you're going to keep going up. No amount of anything else is going to save you from your own arrogance. So get over your arrogance, please, guys. Please just get over your arrogance. And I know Kamishima is in there now, and Kamishima is very smart and business-minded, and I think he knows what he's doing. But I really hope that they turn things around, and if this is the case, if it is the case that they're not showing anyone their hardware, they need to stop being fucking stupid, and they need to show their hardware. But again, this article is a bit sensationalist, I will admit that. So hopefully this article is wrong, and they are being shown hardware, because that is one of the most stupid things that you can do in the gaming industry as a console manufacturer, is not show the developers your hardware. And I think it's worth a couple of leaks for the hardware. I mean, it's 2016, guys. If your stuff gets leaked, it's normal. Shit gets leaked all the fucking time. And I understand you guys are very protective over your intellectual property, and you should be, but it's 2016 and everything gets leaked. The color of my bathroom wall, I'm pretty sure, got leaked like fucking 5 minutes ago or something like that. You know, this shit happens all the time. It's not new. It's not new. It never will be new. And you can't really keep it a secret for very long, and you won't. So please, stop trying to be North Korea about this and just release it to developers, give them dev kits, and tell them to keep hush-hush about it, because that's one way that you're going to make sure that no one finds out about it. And if someone blabs, then you have the right to do something and try and, remedy that situation and maybe try and debunk some of it. But you guys need to calm down with your North Korean grip on some things, especially YouTube, but I've already said that. And yeah, so Nintendo, if you're listening, which you're not, loosen your grip a little bit. I know that you've always had draconian business practices in the past and present, but it's time you stop. It's time you get with the times and you start taking advantage of modernity, really. So yeah, that's my thought on that. That whole sensationalist thing that, oh yeah, it's going to get great third-party support, or no, it's not going to get great third-party support. And I never say that it's going to or it's not going to, especially in my video thumbnails and titles. I don't do clickbait shit because I'm not a piece of shit. I always say that it may do this or it may do that. I will never say that it will do this or it will do that unless it is 100% confirmed and I have the evidence to back it up. So, yeah, I don't think that it's going to have terrible third-party support, but I don't necessarily think it's going to have amazing third-party support. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it has a shit ton of third-party support and it basically has like the most kick-ass lineup of games from the beginning we're ever going to see. And maybe they'll sell 300 trillion units and, they'll, be balling and they'll just be like drinking like melted down gold for the rest of their lives. We don't know. But hopefully that'll be the case. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that deal. So let's talk more about NX now that I'm on to that topic. With the whole console and handheld integration thing, supposedly they're going to release the handheld unit a couple months before they release the core hardware. And I find that interesting because I think they're going to use the handheld unit as a way to amp you up for the full thing. So they're going to say, so you got this handheld unit and it's pretty cool. It's great. You've got good game experiences on it. But if you get the full console, you get all of this stuff. And I think they're going to use that as a means to bring you to the core hardware and not only sell you on the ever popular Nintendo handhelds, but also sell you, as a result, on the core hardware. And Nintendo handhelds have always been incredibly popular. They have always dominated in the handhelds market. No one can deny that. It is always absolutely dominated in the handheld market, and that is something Nintendo has going for them. And Nintendo is going to capitalize on that, and they're going to use that in the NX to make more money and sell the NX. So they're going to say, yeah, we have this generation's awesome handheld like we usually do, but it's also a part of this bigger thing that's a lot cooler if you combine these two. So you can make this better with that and that better with this. And if that's what Nintendo is doing, then that's absolutely brilliant, because if they use their handhelds as a means to sell their core hardware, then they've really got something going, because their handhelds make them a shit ton of money. The 3DS is still selling like all hell. Of course, it's not selling as well as it was a couple years ago, but it's still selling like a motherfucker. And with the NX handheld supposedly going to come out sometime in 2016, I think that they're definitely going to really, really capitalize on that. That's going to be really cool to see, and I think Nintendo's going to make a lot of money, and they're going to recover their brand name, and they're going to be big, and that's a best case scenario. But hey, maybe they've got some smart people in there now, like Kamishima, who knows what they're doing, and we'll see some cool stuff, and I really hope that that's the case, because seeing a nice handheld and console relationship would be fantastic, especially from Nintendo, because they kick ass at handhelds, and they are the undeniable handheld champion. Like, when people like the PlayStation Vita come in, they just fucking get the fuck out of here. It's that sort of thing. And Nintendo is the handheld market at this point, and no one can really stand up to them in terms of handhelds. And so the fact that they're going to use that to their advantage is like having a super weapon, and that's brilliant. Now, that's if they do this, and I really hope they do, because that'd be fan-fucking-tastic. So that's the end of this little podcasty episode. This is sort of just a new thing I'm trying out, just sort of something where I can sit around and just talk about, gaming current events that are on my mind, apart from the discussions where I have to stick to one topic. And it's sort of like what happens on Linus Tech Tips with the WAN show. That's what I'm sort of trying to do here, and just have a place where I can, talk about current gaming and retro gaming, and, just sort of voice my opinion and all that kind of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to continue doing this, because it's just a way for me to speak, and not to myself for once, now that I have this channel to speak to others about it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's very long. These are going to be very long. That's just a given. So, I hope you enjoyed this. Remember to like, subscribe, all that shit, and I will see you in the next one. And the next one will be, the next normal video will be shorter than this, I promise.